Construction worker finds bloodied knife. Unwittingly solves a horrific crime. Part 2. The man outside Caleb's door didn't move. Gray hoodie, head lowered, hands buried deep in the front pocket. Caleb's chest tightened. For a second, his brain tried to reject what his eyes were seeing. That can't be Derek. Derek Vaughn was behind bars. Caleb had watched the sentencing himself, watched the guards lead him away in chains while Tessa Reed's mother sobbed into a tissue. So who was this? The knock came again, 3 slow taps. "Caleb, I know you're home." The voice was low, unfamiliar, but it carried a strange confidence, like someone who already knew the outcome of a game. Caleb stepped away from the door quietly and grabbed his phone. His fingers trembled as he dialed 911. 911, what's your emergency? "There's someone outside my apartment," Caleb whispered. "He sent me a message earlier. A threat." "What's the address, sir?" Before Caleb could answer, the door handle moved. Once, twice. The man wasn't knocking anymore. He was trying the lock. Caleb's heart slammed against his ribs. "Sir, stay inside," the dispatcher said. "Officers are on the way." Then the handle stopped moving. Silence. A long, suffocating silence. Caleb crept back toward the door and looked through the peephole again. The hallway was empty. The man was gone. Across town, Detective Rowan Hale sat in his office reviewing case files when his phone buzzed. An officer had forwarded him a report. Threat made against construction worker Caleb Mensah. Rowan frowned. Caleb had been the accidental hero who cracked the Tessa Reed case wide open. Without him finding the knife, the investigation might have stalled for weeks. Now someone was threatening him. Rowan leaned back slowly. Derek Vaughn had no known accomplices, but that didn't mean he had none. Rowan picked up the phone. "Get me a visitor log for Vaughn at county jail." Meanwhile, Caleb barely slept. Every creak of his apartment sounded like footsteps. Every shadow looked like a figure waiting in the corner. By morning, he convinced himself it had just been intimidation. Some random friend of Derek's trying to scare him. Still, he checked the hallway before leaving for work. Empty. But as he walked toward the elevator, something caught his eye. A small piece of paper slipped halfway under his door. His stomach dropped. He picked it up slowly. 3 words written in thick black marker. "You missed one." Caleb stared at the message for a long time. Missed one? Missed what? Then his mind went back to the building on Harlow Street. The walls, the floorboards, the smell. A cold realization crept into his bones. What if Tessa hadn't been the only victim? At the police station, Rowan received the visitor records. Derek Vaughn had exactly 1 visitor since his arrest, his younger brother, Lucas Vaughn. Rowan pulled up Lucas's file. 30 years old, mechanic, minor record for assault and disorderly conduct, and one detail that made Rowan's eyes narrow. Lucas had been living 3 blocks from the demolished Harlow Street apartments. Rowan whispered under his breath. Of course. He grabbed his coat. Caleb arrived at the construction site mid-morning. Demolition had moved to the adjacent building now. Another abandoned structure slated to be torn down. He tried to focus on work, but the note burned in his pocket. "You missed one." The words wouldn't leave his head. He walked through the dusty hallway, stepping over piles of broken plaster and exposed pipes. Something about the place felt wrong. Then he heard it, a faint buzzing sound, like flies. Caleb froze. The sound was coming from a wall in the back unit. His skin prickled. "Hey," he called to another worker nearby. "You hear that?" The man shrugged. "Probably a dead rat." Maybe, but Caleb's stomach twisted. He grabbed a hammer. One swing cracked the drywall. The buzzing grew louder. Second swing. The wall crumbled open, and Caleb stumbled backward in horror. Behind the wall, a human hand fell through the hole. Gray, still, the fingernails chipped and broken. The room erupted in shouting. Someone called the police. Someone else ran outside to vomit. Caleb just stood there staring. The note echoed in his head. You missed one. By the time Rowan arrived, the site was swarming again. Crime scene tapes stretched across the entire building. Forensic teams carefully removed the remains from inside the wall cavity. Different clothes, different body, older decomposition. This victim had been there for months. Rowan felt the familiar cold weight settle in his chest. Derek Vaughn hadn't killed just once. He'd been doing this for a long time. And someone else knew. Someone who had watched Caleb uncover the first body. Someone who had sent that note. Lucas Vaughn. Police moved quickly. They picked Lucas up that evening at the auto garage where he worked. He didn't resist. Didn't even look surprised. He sat in the interrogation room calmly while Rowan placed 2 photos on the table. Tessa Reed, and the second victim pulled from the wall. Lucas studied the images silently. Then he leaned back in his chair. You found her, he said softly. Rowan's eyes hardened. So you knew she was there? Lucas smiled faintly. My brother always said walls were good hiding places. Rowan felt anger flare. How many, Lucas? Lucas tilted his head. Depends what you mean. How many girls? Lucas didn't answer. Instead, he laughed quietly. You think Derek was the monster? Rowan's jaw tightened. He killed them. Lucas's smile widened. No, he said. We killed them. The room went silent. Rowan felt the case explode open in front of him. 2 brothers, working together, luring victims, hiding them. Lucas leaned forward slightly. You know what's funny, Detective? Rowan said nothing. Lucas's voice dropped to a whisper. You still haven't found the first one. Rowan's stomach turned cold. The first one? Lucas nodded slowly. Yeah. Then he looked straight into Rowan's eyes and smiled. Want to know where she is? Rowan felt the room tighten. Lucas leaned back in his chair again, folding his arms. I'll tell you, he said calmly, but only if Caleb comes here. Rowan blinked. Why him? Lucas's grin stretched wider. Because he already stood on top of her. Rowan felt a chill crawl down his spine. Back at the construction site, demolition had already begun again. Heavy machines tearing into the foundation, breaking the ground open, and beneath that ground, something had been buried long before Caleb ever picked up that hammer.